Hello, everybody, this is Tim again, here another movie review, this time for On the Line with Mel Gibson. Now, this movie recently came out. I decided to watch it because I'm a Mel Gibson fan. Yes, he said some crazy shit back in the day or whatever, but I'm the type of person that believes people can change, and he hasn't said any crazy shit that I know of since then, so I pretty much gave this guy a second chance. Mel Gibson, as far as this movie goes, I will say this: I wasn't sure what I was getting into when it came to this movie. Was it going to be an action movie? What was it going to be? Mel Gibson plays this like abrasive radio DJ or whatever, who's just like gets people's attention and all that on in the night hours of the night on the radio. And he's sitting there. You got Kevin Dillon in a small role, who's just other guy that's working at the radio station. And when the movie starts out, you got like this crazy dude who thinks he's Jesus or whatever. He's trying to get Mel Gibson to notice him, and Mel Gibson like talks him down or whatever, and just like sends him away and gets him to go back to the shelter he came from to broadcast on the webcam there that he's Jesus or whatever. And I wasn't sure if this dude was like, well, they put this dude in here to be like kind of like part of the setup to trick the audience that maybe he's the crazy dude or whatever. But when the dude left, I was like, well, why didn't Mel Gibson like call the shelter to inform them or something that there's like this wacko dude who thinks he's Jesus, who's like was threatening to commit suicide and all that. I'm like, okay. But spoiler alert, maybe that I wasn't sure if that dude was like part of the plot twist of this. Like, was he a plant to just like set up the mood or something, or was that like an actual legit thing? I don't know. The movie never explains it because the twist at the end of this movie is really going to make it or break it for most people. But one thing leads to another. You got Mel Gibson on the radio, and he's got this dude who comes on there who starts like hinting that he's in front of somebody's house and wants to get revenge and all that. And I saw it coming. I was like, okay, this is predictable. He's going to say, "I'm outside your house, Mel Gibson," and then that's what he eventually says. It's like, "I'm going after your family and all that." And he starts talking about like this woman who used to work there that left, and he was talking about how Mel Gibson used to make fun of her on the air or something. And you get the idea that maybe Mel Gibson might have done something to this girl. Maybe she was killed or something or whatever. But they never play into like the conspiracy of it. And they never go into it to like play up the vibe of like, can you trust Mel Gibson? Is he a good guy? Isn't he a good guy? Or does the guy think it was Mel Gibson who killed this girl, but really it was like somebody else that works at the radio station? Maybe it was his friend, this other dude that's there, or whatever, who's like the new guy. They could have played into that, but by not doing like really anything with that plot line, you're basically just stuck with kind of like a generic thriller where Mel Gibson's like wandering through the radio station and the supposed killer's like taking everybody out off screen, like random people. So he's like a ninja. So right off the bat, you're like, okay, this is pretty far fetched for this random dude to be like this good, this qualified. And apparently, he's rigged the entire radio station with bombs, um, which is just really unbelievable. So right off the bat, the plot is really stretching credibility, and it just doesn't feel like enough plot for an entire movie. This feels like a basic small idea, like stretched out. That would be better for like a short film or an episode of a TV series. And a lot of times this happens where they take like a very simple idea and they just gotta stretch it as far as humanly possible to make an entire movie out of it. That's what this feels like. This would have been much more appropriate for like a Tales from the Crypt episode or something. You get to the ending, and the big twist is the killer is there at the radio station. Mel Gibson walks in there, and he's there with the new dude and all that. And the bomb squad's like coming in there and everything. And then presto, you find out it's all a prank. The dude who's like pretending to be the killer and everything, he's in on it with Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson is just set this whole thing up to be an asshole to prank the new guy or whatever, which is I've heard there's some people on IMDb is like defending this twist, and I'm like, well, if you really enjoy that and you just think that's so cool, that's fine. I'm glad you like the movie. That's cool. But for me personally, when it comes to twists like this, sometimes they can work, sometimes they don't. It's all about execution. If they had really played with it more and maybe dropped some nuggets here and there to like maybe hint at the fact that there could be a twist coming, it would have made more sense. Instead, it just kind of comes off like a weak, lame thriller with a lame villain. But when you get to the twist, it's just twists have to make some kind of logical sense in the context of the movie they're in. Otherwise, they just feel completely thrown in. So it's like Mel Gibson set this whole thing up with this dude pretending to be a killer, and pretending to like put bombs all over the building just so he could prank this new guy. Now, what if this new guy, who at this point is apparently not in on the prank, what if he would have like flew off or something and actually like killed somebody during the prank? Or what if he decided to like sue him for emotional damage? Like he would have had a case, he could have gotten away with it. So it's like incredibly unbelievable that the whole radio station would be in on this. And Mel Gibson apparently has everybody there in on it with him, all faking their deaths and all doing it and everything. And then the dude like walks out, the guy who wasn't in on it apparently. He like falls down the stairs because he's so freaked out. He apparently breaks his neck and dies. And Mel Gibson's like freaking out. Now, if the movie would have ended here, This could have been like an okay twist of fate, like time waster or whatever, where it's like, okay, Mel Gibson pulled this elaborate prank. It shows that you shouldn't have done it, and he calls the death of this dude for real. That could have worked as like some kind of morality play story or whatever, and that's what I'm saying. This would have been much more appropriate as like a condensed short film thing or whatever for like an episode of Tales from the Crypt or some like twist of fate horror series or whatever. It would have worked much better as that, because then it would have went by much faster paced, and it would have just played smoother because the idea is so simple. It would work much better for something shorter in context. It's like a short story. That's pretty much what this is. It's a short story idea stretched out. Where and if you would have made Mel Gibson's character like kind of an asshole or whatever, or more of an asshole, and then when the twist happens and you find out the whole thing is a prank, then you would have been more into it, because then the dude would have died by accident. You would have been like, oh, so yeah, the Mel Gibson character is an asshole, and he did all this, and he is caused the death of a real person for doing this, and so then he would like get arrested or whatever, because he would be the one to blame for it or get in trouble, and you'd be like, oh, he got his comeuppance. But no, that's not what this is. They stretched it out into a full-length film for like no reason, and then they got two twists. The second twist is Mel Gibson's like getting in the car or whatever to talk to the person who runs the company, I guess. It's this chick, and then all at once the dude driving turns out to be the new guy who faked his death, and you find out he knew about the prank, and he was like a double prank. He was playing on Mel Gibson, pretending he somehow broke his neck by actually falling down the stairs. I don't get that, how you could fake that. And so then everybody comes out and like, oh, we got you. It's like, it's like it just wants to throw in like twist after twist, and you don't need it. This movie would have been like okay time waster if they would have just let the dude die and had Mel Gibson get some kind of comeuppance. But trying to have a twist on top of a twist is too much. This would have worked much better. It's just one of those morality play short episodes of a TV series. But yeah, overall, I got to give this 1 star out of 4. This movie sucked. The idea could have worked as like a short film, but for what it is, by stretching it out over long, it just doesn't play. This is a film that shouldn't have been a film. It would have just been better as a short. Even if it was just like part of some horror anthology or thriller anthology or whatever, it would have played much better. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you again. Oh, and before I leave, Mel Gibson's good in the movie. The acting is solid here from pretty much everybody. Nobody's really bad here, but overall, the execution of the story, it doesn't work. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you again.